In the heart of a remote jungle, where rivers run wild and the wind still carries the voices of old legends, something extraordinary happened, something no one could explain. One night, under a moonless sky, a pack of wolves gathered near a river they had visited countless times. They came to drink, to quench their thirst in the clear, flowing water. But tonight, they didn't drink. They didn't move. They simply stared at the still water and howled. It started with just one, a long, low call that echoed through the dense trees. Then another joined. Then another. Soon, the entire pack raised their heads in unison, crying out not in fear, not in hunger, but with something deeper. A call that sounded more like a ritual than a warning. And then the water changed. Not just ripples, not from wind. The river's surface shimmered, shifting from black to a faint, glowing silver. The mist rose from it, swirling in spirals. The animals of the jungle froze. Birds stopped mid-flight. Even the insects fell silent. The jungle was watching. Days later, a young woman named Nia sat by that same river. Her people, the Muria, had lived along its banks for generations. But it wasn't just water they shared a border with, it was magic. Magic woven into the very fabric of their world. The river was the thread that held it all together. When she was little, her grandmother had told her stories of the river's magic, of how it was alive, how it remembered everything that had ever happened within its flow. Wolves were its messengers, speaking to it and listening to its whispers. But Nia had always thought these were just stories, myths to keep the children close to the fireside. Until tonight, she had heard the wolves calling, echoing across the valley. Their cries seemed to shake the earth, stirring something primal in her chest. She knew, somehow, that something extraordinary was happening, and she couldn't help but be drawn to the riverbank. As the last notes of the wolf's song faded into the night, the river began to glow. At first, it was subtle, a faint luminescence rippling along the surface like spilled moonlight. But then it intensified, becoming a radiant silver, almost otherworldly in its beauty. The mist rose, coiling and twisting into shapes that seemed to dance before vanishing. Nia wasn't afraid. Instead, there was a sense of wonder, a feeling of witnessing something that transcended the ordinary. It was as if the river itself was coming alive, sharing a secret only it knew. Then suddenly, a figure emerged from the swirling mist, tall and regal with skin that glistened like moonlight on water. The figure seemed to embody the river's magic. Its eyes, pools of liquid silver, seemed to hold ancient wisdom, and its presence radiated a power that both awed and calmed Nia. With gentle steps, the figure approached Nia, its gaze steady and kind. The words weren't spoken, Nia understood. This was the spirit of the river, and it had been awakened by the wolf's call. Days turned into weeks, and Nia found herself drawn to the river every night. She would sit for hours, watching the glowing spectacle and listening to the river's song. Each night the spirit of the river shared more of its wisdom, teaching Nia about the interconnectedness of all living things and the importance of respecting and preserving the natural world. But as the summer nights wore on, Nia couldn't shake off a growing unease. The spirit of the river seemed troubled, and its usually radiant glow had become dimmer. The river, once vibrant and teeming with life, now appeared sluggish and lifeless. Fish lay gasping on the banks, and the lush vegetation wilted and turned brown. One night, Nia learned the reason for the river's sadness. Deep in the jungle's heart, an old logging camp had been reactivated. Men with their loud machines were returning to cut down the ancient trees that lined the riverbanks. The river was their lifeline, and now their greed threatened to destroy it. Overwhelmed with worry, Nia rushed to tell the village elders. They, too, were troubled, but they knew that the river had a powerful protector. The wolves, guided by instinct and an ancient bond, the wolves would defend their sacred river. That night, Nia joined the pack as they made their way to the logging camp. The air was thick with tension as they moved through the shadows, their eyes gleaming with determination. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the camp. Startled workers stumbled out of their tents, their faces etched with confusion and fear. The wolves let out a series of sharp barks, their voices echoing across the clearing. It was a sound of warning, a demand to leave. But the loggers paid them no heed. They were driven by their insatiable hunger for profit. Deaf to the wolves' desperate pleas. As the loggers prepared to continue their destructive work, the wolves made their move. They moved swiftly and silently, their lithe bodies weaving between the tents, their sharp teeth finding weak spots in the machinery. The workers, overwhelmed and terrified, ran for cover. But the wolves weren't interested in causing harm. They merely wanted to drive them away, to protect their beloved river. And then, as if on cue, the river erupted in a brilliant display of magic. The spirit of the river, awakened by the wolves' call, unleashed its full power, driving the loggers deeper into the forest. Terrified by what they couldn't understand, the loggers fled, abandoning their camp and their plans. The next morning, Nia returned to the river with the villagers. They were greeted by a sight that brought tears to their eyes. The river was back to its pristine self, flowing with renewed vigor, its banks lush and vibrant. Nia understood that the river and the wolves had won this battle, but she knew that the fight to protect the jungle was far from over. As long as greed and ignorance drove men to exploit and destroy, the balance of the jungle would be threatened. From that day forward, Nia became the bridge between her people and the jungle, ensuring that the lessons of respect and harmony were never forgotten. The story of the wolves in the river became a legend, a reminder of the power of nature and the importance of protecting it. Years passed, seasons changed, but Nia's resolve never wavered. She taught her people to listen to the whispers of the jungle, to respect its rhythms and understand its language. The Muria slowly transformed their ways, turning from exploiters to protectors. One evening, Nia sat by the river, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The wolves emerged from the forest, their silhouettes outlined against the fading light. They had returned from their hunt, their bellies full, their coats sleek and shiny. As they approached the river, Nia noticed something different. One of the wolves was limping, its gait slow and labored. Despite its injury, the wolf continued on, its spirit unbroken. The pack, sensing their companion's struggle, slowed their pace and stayed close, supporting and encouraging the limping wolf. Touched by the display of loyalty and compassion, Nia rose to her feet. As the wolves drank from the river, she stepped into the shallow water. The cool water washed over her feet, sending a refreshing tingle up her legs. She looked up, meeting the gaze of the limping wolf. Its eyes, pools of amber wisdom, seemed to hold an ancient understanding. In that moment, Nia knew that she wasn't just looking at an animal. She was witnessing a reflection of the wild spirit of the jungle itself. The wolves, with their unwavering connection to the river, served as a constant reminder of the jungle's heartbeat. They were the keepers of its secrets, the guardians of its balance. And Nia, as the link between her people and the wolves, felt a deep sense of responsibility. She realized that her role wasn't just to learn from the jungle, but to protect it, to ensure that the harmonious balance between humans and nature was restored and maintained. As the night deepened and the stars twinkled above, Nia stood, bathed in the soft moonlight, the river at her back and the wolves flanking her sides. In that sacred space between the human world and the wild unknown, she made a silent vow to stand as a guardian of the jungle, ensuring that its voice echoed through the ages.